Stella, in your great new book, The Weaponization of Loneliness, you talk about when we get lonely, we lose freedom. People don't think about that connection, but your book is so much more. It is not just an Oprah Book Club selection where two lonely people are talking about, well, I cured my loneliness because I did therapy or whatever. It's a political book. It's an economic book. It is a book that warns us about what can happen in the future and gives us a solution for how we can avoid a tyrannical future. So tell us about how we lose basic human rights and then how we can take them back.
All right. Well, free speech, as I've always said, is use it or lose it. And if you can't speak openly, if you think about this, I always think of the First Amendment as something that protects our private sphere of life, protects us in terms of our families, our faith communities, all other communities, our friendships, because without the ability to speak openly to one another, you are isolated and you can't really have relationships, period. And that's exactly what tyrants want. They want us not talking to one another honestly and openly in a sense of community. Alexis de Tocqueville wrote, I just think this is an amazing quote, is that a despot puts all of his care into isolating people. He doesn't really care whether or not you love him as long as you don't love each other. And I think that's really key. And Václav Havel, I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with his really life-changing essay called The Power of the Powerless. That was published in 1978. He was a dissident in Soviet Czechoslovakia. Later, after the wall fell, he became president of the Czech Republic. But his thesis is very, it's so relevant to the solution. His point is that it's the hidden sphere of life, the private sphere, family, faith, community, friends, in which freedom really thrives. And when you can speak openly to others in that sphere, that ripples outward and helps to create civil society. And so what we have to do is understand these two things, that free speech is absolutely got to snap out of our self-censorship. It's absolutely necessary unless you want to live in a vault, virtual solitary confinement. And you have to, break out of that and protect and guard the private sphere of life. Now, part of that is, this is a hard work. This is not a 5-second soundbite. We have to learn, we have to become aware of these dynamics. And we also have to reach out because there is so much brokenness already that's been cultivated through all of these awful agendas that have caused and hastened family breakdown, and a lot of that fast-tracked by the COVID isolation. So it's going to be some hard work. I mean, you originally brought up, you brought up the biblical reference to feeling isolated, and there's a lot of that. If you read the Bible, you'll find, if you read it carefully, looking for political correctness, you'll find that a lot, people shutting up about, what they believe, or being caught up in the, in the culture, all the attacks through these cultural demonization campaigns. But the very first thing that happens, if you look at the garden, is what does the serpent do? What does the evil one do? The very first thing he does is he makes sure that Eve is isolated from Adam. He makes sure she can't consult. He makes sure they can't talk to each other before he takes her down this road, and then uses her to corrupt him. So it's very interesting. This whole dynamic is old, ancient.